Okay, now that we've made our first cinemagraph, we're now going to get into a little more advanced one. This will be our intermediate cinemagraph. So once again, this will assume that you've taken some kind of media. The media that I've chosen for this particular one should look very familiar to anybody at USC. Let's pop it open and play it through. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull it into Photoshop. And once again, if Photoshop doesn't look like this, or you've reset your workspace to the default workspace and it looks like this, it's easy to switch over. Just go ahead and hit motion. And now you'll get your timeline down here and everything else that you're going to need. So when we play through, I can grab this guy, pull him down a little bit. When we play through here, you can see we have a really nice cinemagraph up until about this point right here. We've got a girl going by on a bike. For me, she actually makes the cinemagraph. You really get the feeling that you're on USC campus. There's always bicycles or skateboarders running by. So we're going to deal with her a bit later, I think maybe in our advanced cinemagraph. But for the meantime, we're going to focus on masking out all this other all this other movement down here, and keep the focus on the fountain, and then pull a little bit of the movement from the trees here. Now this particular video has an audio track in it. I'm just going to mute it. You can mute the audio track by, let me see. So in case it's not quite clear, this is if you add your own audio track down here. But to mute the audio track that's actually embedded in the video, I believe we're going to have to, let's see how we do it. Just click that button right there. So now that our audio track is muted, we're going to think about what's a way that we can pick and choose what information we want to be in here and which information we don't. So I'm going to, if you press F, it'll allow you to go into a pseudo full screen mode, and you can use the space bar to get the hand to kind of grab and work your way around. So when I'm looking at our image here and I'm playing through this, I don't want any of these people to be there. I do really like the subtlety in the trees. I wish there was a little bit more right here. And I'm going to get rid of our biker very easily just by cutting her right here. I'm going to right click. Excuse me. I'm going to click the scissors right here, and that'll split the file into Playhead. I'm going to go ahead and trash the rest of it just by hitting the delete or the backspace key. So in order to get what we want, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a still image of a foreground plate that we like. So I'm going to find a certain part in the video where there's not too many people walking around, because I'm just going to use Photoshop to pull them out. So, you know, the beginning frame is pretty good. Once again, this is the area that I'm watching right here. Let me just zoom in there a little bit for you. The beginning frame doesn't have too many people, and I can go ahead and pull those people out. So how do we make a single frame from this video? I'll show you a quick trick. It's really easy. File. This right here says we're on frame 0, by the way. This is our frame counter. As you can see, as I scrub through, it shows me the rest of the frames. 0 is the frame that I want. I'm going to come over here and File, Render to Video. Start frame is going to be 0. End frame is going to be 0. So that means we have a single frame. And we're going to call this video for video foreground, and I'm going to go ahead and just stick it in the same folder that I've been using here. Right here. Go ahead and hit render. Now that it's rendered out, I'm going to go ahead and hit File Open. I'm going to open that foreground. Oops, I didn't mean to open Skype. Open the foreground. Open. What we're going to do is, now follow my keyboard shortcuts. Command A, you can select everything. Command C, copy everything. I'm going to hit F here so I can navigate back over to my original fountain. Hit Command V. Okay. I hope you guys saw that. What I just did there was I made a new layer right here. This purple layer is a still image, and the background is still video. So when I play through right now, what's going to happen? Nothing, because the image is in front of the video. If I switch them around, put this video group on top of this layer, and I play through, there's everything I want again. So what we're going to do here is we are going to switch this back around so the image is on top, and we are just going to mask. We're going to mask some of this image off. So the best way to do this, let's go ahead and add a mask. If you click this button right here, add layer mask. Now masks work with black and white. They don't accept any other colors, they just use black and white. Where the area is black, the image will be completely transparent. Where the area is white, it will be completely opaque. And gray is the values in between, and that's how we get our gradation. So if I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush tool. As you can see, we have the brush set to pretty small here. I'm just going to crank them up a little bit. By the way, that was a right click that opens this palette. Well, let's take it up to about here. Well, maybe about here looks about good. I'm going to pull the hardness way down. Okay, and now that as you can see right here, I'm on the mask. I'm going to paint some black on here. So as you can see, white is my foreground, black is my background color. Here's a quick trick to switch those back and forth, is just by hitting the X key. I'm going to hit X. I'm going to put my flow, that's how much paint's actually going to come out of this particular brush. Put it down to about 8. Okay? Now I'm going to paint some black onto this mask. Now you may say, well, I'm not seeing any black happening here. What's going on? You can see it happening right here on this little layer. And if you actually want to take a look at it, you can just turn this particular layer mask on your channels selection. But because I like to view the actual image, and with this selected, I can just use as long as this little eyeball's on right here, you're going to get this red value where it's actually black. And the reason why it's red is it's just showing you where that black area exists. So I'm just going to keep painting. Oh, once again, I'm painting white, not black. I'm going to hit X and switch back over. There we go. Just like I said, I just want a little bit of those trees. Now I'm going to turn this layer mask off. Now that doesn't do anything. It just makes it so it's not visible. It is still making everything here transparent. So now when I play through, watch what happens. It's very subtle, but the leaves here are changing. Okay, I'm going to paint a little more black into there. This time I'm going to crank the flow up. You can see what's happening down here. And I really like these trees in the background as well. So let's see what happens. You can see a little bit of motion there now, right? Just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to continue to work on this mask. The problem now is that we actually need all this information here on the fountain to come through as well. So to grab the fountain, we're going to do, a little bit of trickery here. We're going to use the lasso tool to specifically select the fountain and the water areas all the way around. And then once it's selected, then we're going to paint in that selection. The nice part is that when you have a particular area selected, Photoshop won't let you paint outside of that selection. So let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. In order to do this, we're going to have to zoom way in. Okay, I was just holding down Alt and using my mouse wheel, but you can also do Command minus, Command plus. If you ever get too far in, you can just hit Command 0, and that'll bring you back to something reasonable. But let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to come up here, holding down the space bar right now to navigate around. Got my lasso tool. I'm going to hold down the Alt button. By the way, I should let you know, I always use the magnetic lasso tool button. You can shift between the different lassos by hitting Shift L, or you can come over here to the tools and actually pull it down, but it's easier for me to kind of go through them by hitting Shift L. The reason why I use the magnetic tool is because it actually has all three in one. And for whatever reason, the other tools, let's say I'm going to use this polygonal one, as you can see, you're pretty limited as to what you can create with the polygonal one, and I don't really want anything to be too chunky. At certain times I want it to be polygonal, at other times I'm going to need it to be a little more freehand. So anyways, I'll demo this lasso tool so you can make the decision which one you like, but I always tend to use the magnetic one. So Shift L gets me back to the magnetic one. And I know that there's a lot of water that's going to be kind of popping up here from time to time because it is a fountain. So how I move my screen is I'm holding down Alt and I'm clicking with my left finger. Now I'm pressing space to navigate around here. Okay, so I'm coming down, space, Alt, now this is where it's going to start to get a little bit tricky because remember there's bicycle riders back there, so just take your time. Go through this area. Now watch what happens if you just do single clicks rather than holding and drawing. You get the Polygonal Lasso tool. And as you can see, it's very helpful for this particular area of the image. Spacebar once again. Drag down, maybe pull over from here. And try and go up and around the little flowers. Take your time. Go through it. Once again with the magnetic tool, if your hands get tired, just drop everything. You can come right back to it. Hold Alt again, and you can start drawing again. If you notice my screen kind of jumping a little bit, it's because I have one of these Apple Magic Mice. And sometimes what should be the mouse wheel gets a little bit touchy, but it's actually just sensing my fingers moving around. So it's not always the best instrument to be using, but it's pretty good. Like I said, for the fountain areas, because I know the water is going to jump up sometimes, I'm going to give it a lot of room to do what water does when it's being sprayed out of a fountain. Okay, there we go. Let's take a quick look at this selection. Looks pretty darn good so far. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure my mask is selected here. I'm going to use the brush tool again. And let's watch the black area here. I'm going to crank the flow all the way up to 100. And just watch what happens in here because I have this selection. Whoa, right? You can see that it's making that area completely transparent, and I can color all around. I don't have to worry about staying inside the lines because the selection is going to do that work for me. Coming over here, painting my black over this mask. Ooh, I have to watch that particular area. You can see water falls out there. Now, because I want this entire area, I'm going to make my brush real big and just really black the whole thing out. Okay, now I saw right here in this little area, it looks like I'm going to need a little more added to this particular selection. That's really easy to do. First of all, I'm going to just grab my lasso tool again. Right, and if you hold down Shift, like I'm doing right here, you're just going to add to the selection. Let's add that area. And just kind of make a little circle. And now let's scrub through and make sure that that's looking pretty good. I think it's looking pretty good. Let's check the top. Scrub through. Looking pretty good. As you can see, that area that we painted over there is looking pretty good. Now, the hardest part here is making sure that we don't see any people riding any bicycles through. So I'm just going to show you the difference between without and with. Right? We don't see any of those people move around in this one. And that's kind of the essence of cinemagraphs. You really want to just focus on the motion that you want to show. So I'm going to put this layer back on. Once again, nothing's there. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this particular selection. Going to my selection tool, save selection. Call this my fountain selection. And what this does is it actually just saves it to a channel over here in your channels list, and then you can open it up whenever you want. So go ahead and save that. Now you're going to hit Command D, which deselects everything. If I ever want to reload that selection, I'll just come over here to my selection tool, hit Load Selection, and Fountain Selection is what I want. There it is again. Okay, Command D to turn it off. All right, so now let's play it through and let's see how it looks. Pretty good. I am seeing a little bit of jump up here in the trees, and I think we can fix that by actually just making those tree movements a little more subtle. So what I'm going to do is grab my brush tool again and crank it up. You can use your bracket keys to do this if you like. Take my flow down at about 50. I'm going to switch my foreground color to white because white is what makes it opaque. I'm just going to paint it out a little bit. Now let's play through and see what we got. Now we can still see that area move a little bit. Maybe it's I took out a little too much. I'm going to go ahead and turn a little more, turn the black on again. Let's play through it. Not a whole lot of movement on this side of there. Oh, a little bit. Just a little bit down here. Okay, not bad. So if you watched the first Cinemagraph tutorial, you saw that I split the playhead, and I took, what I did was I transferred the jump from the beginning and end of the document, I transferred it into the middle. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out exactly where my center point is here, which at 147 frames is 73 and a half, as you can see right here. 147 divided by 2, divided by 2, 73 and a half. We're going to round up to 74, move the playhead to 74, and then we're going to just click this and hit the snap button right there, the snip button on the scissors. Okay, so now that we've cut this in the middle, I'm going to drag this one, drag this particular part over to the front. And effectively what we just did was we moved the endpoints to the middle right here. So watch, it's set to, make sure that you're set to loop play right here, but now when we play through and we let it loop, let's watch what happens. We should be seeing a jump now. There's the jump, and it should be perfect from the end to the beginning. Yep, perfect from the end to the beginning. So now all we have to do is deal with this particular area right here. Well, we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did in the first tutorial. We're going to use a crossfade. Take it and drag it right there. As we know from the first tutorial, it does shorten our endings a little bit because it has to layer one of the others, so you lose a few seconds. That's no big deal. We can adjust our fade by clicking it and dragging it left or right. But let's just see how it did. I'll play through here. Does get a little bit ghosty right there, but that looks all right. Let's see. So I'm going to try and make that a little less apparent by shortening that crossfade. Let's see how this looks. So we have one little pop that really jumps up there. Let's take it down a little bit more. Yeah, maybe we'll have to open it a little bit more. Maybe we'll have to do it a lot more. Let's see. As you can see, we didn't adjust our mask yet. Top layer. Looking pretty good. Let's see. Not bad. As you can see, we probably can always do a little bit better, but it's pretty reasonable for right now. So in Photoshop, it's very easy to resize anything you like. Just go ahead and image size. 1920 by 1080. Let's do a percent of that. I want it to be about 25% of that. Okay. Let me convert. Let's play through and just make sure that everything looks good. You know what, maybe we went a little small. Let's go back and let's do image size and let's do 50%. Yeah, there we go. That's about the size that I want it to be. So let's go ahead and save for web. Looks about the same, but I think that's okay. Back to 128. Let's go ahead and hit save. As you can see, this is a little bit slower than we're used to Photoshop being, but Cinemagraphs, they just take a little bit of time. Okay, I'll go ahead and save this to where the rest of my files are. Now I have the fountain Cinemagraph with a foreground plate that just masks out parts of the image that we don't want. Thanks for watching, and I think in the next one we'll do some advanced techniques and maybe add the girl from the bicycle back into the Cinemagraph.